Good evening, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. It's so amazing to see so many friendly faces and from all over the place, which is really lovely. So we are going to begin this class in a child's pose. If child's pose doesn't feel comfortable for you, then I recommend lying on your back with your knees bent, with your feet a little bit wider so your knees can come toward each other and just support each other. However, if child's pose does feel comfortable to your body and it feels restful, then come onto your knees a little bit wider than your belly, unless closer feels better for you, toes to touch, and then simply drape yourself down. Let your arms come out gently. We're going to take a soft child's pose here first. If you find that your head is floating and that is not working for you right now, stack your fists and make a little pillow for your forehead. And take a little bit of time to find a little movement, rock back and forth, maybe front and back. Just get yourself into kind of a comfortable position and recognize that comfort is relative. And sometimes getting into poses takes a couple breaths to become comfortable in an orientation that you don't normally take. Allow your eyes to close or at least soften your gaze. And take a moment to simply recognize the quality of your thoughts. Have your thoughts today been racing, jumping, calm, kind, maybe judgmental to yourself, perhaps very accepting of yourself? None of this is good or bad. Just give yourself a moment to see where you're coming from today. And then with your breath, attempt to soften those edges. If you find that there's been a little bit of a bite to your thoughts, maybe let that break away and release your grip. And in no way do I intend to mean that we're going to ignore anything that feels like it deserves your attention, but for this next period of time, offer a little bit more kindness to yourself, a little more acceptance. And then allow your inhales to become a little more deep. Feel your rib cage expand on all sides. Feel maybe the way that makes your belly press against your legs if you're coming forward in that child's pose. And then exhale long and slow, maybe through parted lips. Take another very deep breath in. Imagine the breath could go all the way down to your hips. Exhale, slowly release. And take a scan of your body. Is there any place in your body that seems to feel a little bit more tense or maybe light and porous? Maybe there's a difference between size. Perhaps you have found an element of equality. If there is a spot in your body that feels a little bit tighter than typical or what you would prefer, on your next inhale, imagine that your breath could go to that physical spot in your body, wrap around it, and then with an exhale, melt the tension away. Then I'd like to invite you to set a dedication or intention for this practice. Maybe just simply softening the edges of your thoughts, or maybe you've got something you've been working on for some time. If so, let your thoughts drift to that. I'm going to take a couple breaths together as community as we solidify these dedications. Take a very deep breath in, fill up, draw in everything that supports your dedication. Exhale, let it go, get soft. Once more like that, deep breath in, create space. And then exhale, use the space you've made. And then one more inhale and exhale for yourself. All right, if you're in that child's pose, start to reach your arms out in front of you really long. Point your inner elbows up toward the ceiling, even come up onto your finger pads and kind of claw at the mat and start to pull your hips more towards your heels. So you've got a deeper stretch through your arms. You might feel it through the sides of your body, maybe even the tops of your shoulders. And then lift up a little bit and start to walk your torso and your arms over to the right. Really extend your left arm out long, staying on your finger pads. Pull your left hip towards your left heel. Deep stretch. Inhale, come up about halfway again. You're going to cycle yourself over to the other side so that your belly is more onto your left thigh, reaching your right arm out long. Right hip pulls toward right heel. And then on an exhale, start to wander your way back to center again. Press up onto your hands and knees. Realign your heels in line with your knees. So you've got your knees below your hips, tabletop position. Spread your fingertips wide. Inner elbows facing towards the front again. We're going to take a few traditional cow and cat here. Inhale, drop your belly, lift up your hips and your heart. Reach your heart forward, send your gaze upward. Allow your forehead to be relaxed though. On an exhale, press through hands and knees. Bring your chin in towards your chest and your gaze back towards your belly maybe. Inhale, swim your heart forward once again, maybe even bending your elbows, getting a little bit more dramatic as you come into your cow pose. Exhale, press up into your cat. And then continue to flow through these two movements with the rhythm of your breath. You might even start to take some more organic movements by shifting your hips toward the sides, making kind of a C curve. Or if you're looking for a little bit more zhuzh in your practice today, you can tuck your toes and then hover your knees away from the mat as you come through your cow pose and your cat pose. After your next cat pose with the arched spine, come back to neutral. Place a little bit more weight to your left palm. Reach your right arm out to the side. We're going to thread the noodle. I almost said noodle, and I'll tell you a story about that in a moment. Thread the needle. So you come onto your right shoulder, and the right side of your head is onto the mat. Left hand where it is, or you can take your hand around your lower back of hand towards your middle of your back, or reach your left arm out long. So I almost call this thread the noodle because when I was in yoga school, one of the women that was in my class, English is not her first language, and she would call this pose thread the noodle. So I can't stop saying it even though it's been over 7 years. One more inhale and exhale. And then press through your left hand below your shoulder. Feel your right fingertips all the way up to the ceiling. Send your gaze up towards your right thumb. Stay here for a full breath. And then on an exhale, release your right hand down to the mat. Shift the weight over to the right. Left arm comes out. Thread the needle. Left arm comes underneath you. Your palm is up. Come onto your left shoulder. And then take a similar shape with the right hand, whether it stays where it is, or you take a little bit of a twist, or reach your right arm out long. Again, you can always pop up onto spider fingers here. Start to replace your hands. So your right hand is below your right shoulder. Press through that palm. Left fingertips come up toward the ceiling. Stay here. And then exhale, release your hand back down to the mat. So you're back in your tabletop position. Tuck your toes behind you. Send your hips back to your heels. Reach your arms out super, super, super long like we were doing in our child's pose. You might feel a bit of a hip flexor stretch here. Inner elbows are pointing up, shoulders drawing back, and then start to lift your knees away from the mat. Start to unfold into your downward facing dog. Maybe take a couple knee bends here, walk your dog. If you prefer a little bit stillness, then give yourself that space. See if you can soften behind the back of your neck and release your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Draw your ears away from your shoulders. Come back to your long, slow breath. Bend your knees, look towards the top of your mat, and then walk your way to the top of your mat to a forward fold, feet to hips with distance apart. We're going to take 3 halfway lifts, starting to warm up our core. Inhale, halfway lift, fingertips to your mat or to your shins. Look forward. On an exhale, hinge at your hips. Your knees may bend. Come all the way down. Reach the crown of your head down toward the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Wave out long. Exhale, fold. One more time like that. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold, come down. Take your hands to your hips. Point your elbows up toward the ceiling. Roll your shoulders on your back, chin out. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. And then bring your arms alongside your body into Tadasana pose. Allow your eyes to close. And notice that even here, when you are attempting to be very still, there's a slight sway, a constant adjustment, a constant reallocation of energy. And if you'd like to really feel the intensification of this, lift up your heels. All right, if you take your heels up, release your heels down, blink your eyes open, inhale, hands lift up, send your chin upward. Exhale, forward fold. Release your hands to the mat, inhale, halfway lift, offer your heart. Exhale, fold, step back to the top of your plank pose. And then knees up or knees down, lower all the way down onto your mat, onto your belly. You're gonna take a backwards breath cobra here. So untuck your toes and even rock a little bit to one side, lengthen one leg, rock over to the other side, lengthen the opposite leg. And then take your hands out wider than your yoga mat, pointing your elbows up toward the ceiling. Again, come up onto finger pads. We're gonna start with the forehead down. On an inhale, start here, draw your low belly in, press the tops of your feet. Keep your head heavy. On an exhale, start to press through your hands, lift your chin, your shoulders up. And then on an inhale, unfurl, send your gaze up, unravel to your cobra. Exhale, wave it all the way down. Once again, forehead to the mat. Keep pressing through the tops of your toenails. Inhale, prepare here, low belly in. Exhale, press everything that's touching the mat. Wave your way up. Inhale, unravel. Keep pressing through your fingers. Core is strong. Protect your low back. Exhale, wave it all the way back down. One more time like that. Deep inhale, prepare. Exhale, low belly in. Press your thighs to the mat, wave up. Exhale, take it all the way back down. Bring your hands back in closer towards your body. And then pressing through chaturanga or hands and knees, make your way up to downward facing dog. Deep inhale and a full exhale. On your next breath in, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling, tripod dog. On an exhale, pull your knee to your chest and then place your foot between your hands towards your right thumb. Walk up your hand, with your foot, use your hand to draw it up so your ankle is below your knee. Untuck your back toes, Lift up, Anjayanasana. Right hip tacks back, and on an exhale, start to descend down. Start to scissor your thighs together so you're pulling your right heel toward your left knee. We're gonna take a little bit of a heart opener here. So on an exhale, take cactus arms, palms face in front of you, like your elbows are tapped behind you. Look up, keep pressing down through your left toes. Inhale, lift up to Anjayanasana. Exhale, start to arc back, strong through your belly. Inhale, lift up. One more time like that. Exhale to open. Inhale, lift up. This time, take your right thumb to your right hip crease and then arc over to the right. So we have our thumb here to make sure that the hip comes back and it's not just jutting forward. Take a look at your left elbow and see if you can bring it in line with your shoulder. A lot of times it starts to come a little bit further in front of us. Deep breath in. And then on an exhale, take your hands down to your mat, framing your front foot. Taking your left hand out a little bit further and then shift your left heel towards your bum. Cycle your right arm up and around. So either reaching for your foot or perhaps you grasp your foot. If you do have your foot grasped, send your hips back to your heel, make a little bit of heel to bum connection, and then rebend into the front knee once again. So you're giving yourself a quad stretch. And if you prefer not to reach your foot, it's a very, very active stretch. Release the grip if you've taken it. Take your hands down to the mat, tuck your back toes, so lift up the back knee. And then maybe in one fell swoop, pull your right heel to your bum and then strike the leg all the way up to the tripod dog once again. And then when you're ready, place your left foot next to the other, down dog. Inhale, left leg up and back, long, straight, strong. Exhale, pull your knee to your nose and place your foot between your hands towards your left thumb. Drop right knee down, arms come up, Anjayanasana. Back toes are tucked or untucked, whatever feels best for your knee. And again, on your exhale, start to descend your hips just a little bit, scissoring your thighs so that you can protect yourself. And 3 more times, we'll take that open heart. So inhale, prepare. Exhale, cactus arms, maybe send your gaze up, elbows like they could tap behind you. Inhale, lift up once again. Exhale, feel broadening of your collarbones, kind of like when we are in the cobra pose. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, once more. Inhale, lift up your hands and then take your left thumb to your left hip crease. Arc over to the left. Again, notice if your right elbow is starting to come forward, just gently guide it back. And then pull your floating ribs in. And then on an exhale, take both hands to frame the front foot and a low lunge. Take your right hand out a little bit further so you've got plenty of space. You might even find you want to turn your left foot out at an angle slightly. Cycle your left arm up and around. Lift up the back foot. Maybe you clasp your foot. And if you do, again, shift your hips back, make a heel to bum connection, and then rebend. Always an option here. If you have the flexibility and you want to go here, you could come down onto your right forearm. See if you can still reach out long to the crown of your head so you're not taking too much of a back bend. All right, release that clasp if you took it. Use your hands to frame the front foot once again, tuck your back toes, pop up the back knee, and then maybe in one fell swoop, pull your left heel towards your bum, strike it all the way up, tripod dog, three-legged dog, and then on an exhale, place your foot next to the other, downward facing dog, and breathe. All right, step your left foot in slightly, pivot it at a 45-degree angle, and then take your right foot, place it all the way up towards your right hand. We're setting up for warrior one. Allow your hips to go low, and then on an exhale, lift up, arms lift. So take a couple breaths to enter the pose. There's no rush. Right hip comes back just like we were playing with in the Anjayanasana. Press to the outer edge of your left foot so that the arch lifts up. And again, if you find that you're starting to let your rib cage jut out, knit it in, like you're pulling your hips up towards your ribs and your ribs towards your hips. You might even find this helps you descend your right thigh lower. Just breathe. And then take your hands to your low back, interlace your fingers. Notice which pinky is on the outside. Drop knuckles down, inhale, send your gaze upward, and on an exhale, hinge forward, right hip pulls back, humble warrior, keeping your hands clasped as best as you can. And again, if you're looking for more of a challenge, gaze back towards the left foot. Stay here, really reach back with your knuckles, even if your arms don't go straight. Long on the exhales. And then keeping your hands clasped as best you can, stack your shoulders over your hips, and then extend your fingers up toward the ceiling. Straighten the front leg. We're going to move into a triangle pose. You might find that it's best to either step your left foot forward just a little bit, or maybe even laterally to the left for a little bit of balance. Just make sure your right hip is pulled back. Inhale, lift up, and then on an exhale, you're going to start to reach your heart forward and eventually let your hands drop to the mat. This might mean that your knee bends, front or back, perfectly fine. Inhale, lengthen your heart out once again, feel your right hip pull back. And then on an exhale, start to reach your chest towards your thigh. Your chin is starting to come towards your shin. Soften through your jaw. Maybe find a little bit of movement. And again, what's going on in the back of your neck? If you can keep your head straight and not feel tension, then go for that. Otherwise, maybe consider dropping your head. It changes the pose considerably. Continue to breathe. Inhale, lift up halfway once again. Bend both knees, pivot onto the ball of the back foot so your heel and toes are facing in the same direction. Walk your hands out in front of you, and we're going to move to a supported warrior three. So on an exhale, use your core, come forward, either one step or several little hops. Your left leg eventually will lift away from the mat. Your wrists are below your shoulders. You could use a block here if you'd like. Shoulder blades come back. Lift up through the inside of your left thigh. See if you can find that Tadasana posture in your chest here, in your torso. Just breathe. Nothing lasts forever. And then on an exhale, release your left foot next to the right, forward fold, and then ragdoll pose. Let both knees bend. Take your elbows in your hands, perhaps. Even a little bit of bob to your head. And everybody's kind of got their favorite thing they like to do here. And so maybe you say, all right, I'm going to do the stuff that works for me, which is sway back and sides, inside. Or maybe it's time for you to explore something else. Only you are going to know what is best for you during your practice. If you've taken a bind, release your fingertips to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Press your feet down and away from each other. Reverse swan dive, come up all the way to standing. You might bend your knees on the way up. And then on an exhale, take your hands to your heart center. Leave them here or take them alongside your body. We will be in Tadasana for 5 breaths. If you'd like, close your eyes, maybe even lift up on your toes. First of 5 breaths begins now. At the end of your fifth exhale, release your heels down, blink your eyes open. On an inhale, lift your fingertips up toward the ceiling, send your chin upward. Exhale, forward fold. Come all the way down, release your hands. Breath in, halfway lift, offer your heart out. Exhale, fold, step back to the top of your plank pose. On an exhale, knees down or up, lower all the way to your mat or through chaturanga into hover. Untuck your toes. Inhale for a cobra pose or an upward facing dog. And then on an exhale, take it all the way back to downward facing dog. Settle in. Find that first downward facing dog that you cultivated at the beginning of this class. Just as much mindfulness. And then you're going to step your right foot in, slightly angle the foot at 45 degrees. Step your left foot all the way forward. Get really stable in your legs first, and then lift all the way up for your warrior one on the opposite side. So again, pull your floating ribs in towards your hips. This might help you descend the left thigh. Press to the outer edge of your right foot and breathe. If it's not very comfortable for your hand to hands straight up, take the mat wider. Just angle the pinkies toward each other and breathe a little bit more longer on your exhales. The inhales will happen anyway. Interlace your hands at your low back, opposite pinky on the outside. Drop your knuckles, lift up your heart, gaze up, and then on an exhale, hinge forward, humble warrior. If you did it on the other side, maybe send your gaze back to the right foot and continue to pull your left hip back. Just breathe. And then keeping hands clasped the best you can, start to stack your shoulders over your hips and then reach your fingertips up. Warrior one. Straighten the left leg, straight or straighter, and then maybe make an adjustment here, stepping the right foot forward just a little bit. Just be sure to bend the front knee, or stepping your right foot out laterally. Lift up very long through the left thigh, and then on an exhale, you're going to reach your heart forward, lift up on your left kneecap to help you out here, and then your hands drop to the mat whenever they do. Inhale, lift up halfway, wave your heart long, left hip draws back. Exhale, descend your heart towards your thigh. Again, notice if you've developed any tension, the jaw, forehead, the muscles surrounding the eyes. Focus on your exhales. And then the softening around your thoughts. On your next inhale, lift up about halfway. Bend into the front knee more deeply, pop up onto the back toes. So your heel in line with your toes. Take your hands out in front of you. And again, we're going to launch forward into the supported warrior three. So on an exhale, come forward. The right leg comes up, even multiple hops or maybe one swell lift. Reach your heart forward, low belly in, trying to find a Tadasana here. Really long through the left thigh. Focus here, find activity through the right toes. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, bend both knees, step the right foot next to the other, ragdoll pose, top of your mat. Let it go, get soft. And then release your fingertips down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, offer your heart. Exhale, fold to honor yourself. Reverse swan dive, press your feet down and away from each other for stability. Lift all the way up. On an exhale, hands to heart. Maybe take your hands alongside your body. We'll be here for 5 breaths. Option to be on your toes, option to close your eyes. First of 5 breaths begins now. After your 5th breath, on an inhale, lift up your hands, send up your chin. Exhale, forward fold. Breath in, halfway lift. Exhale, fold fully. Step back to top of plank pose. You could float to your chaturanga. And then exhale, lower to or towards your mat, knees up or down. Untuck your toes for a cobra or upward facing dog. And then on an exhale, back to downward facing dog. Take another moment to send your thoughts back to your dedication if it started to drift. No big deal. We're going to take that little bit of a sequence and we're going to add on to it. So if you find that you'd like to move ahead or behind me, you know where we're going. Step your left foot in slightly, pointing at an angle. Step your right foot all the way forward to your warrior one. Rise up as you're ready. Really press down through both feet to give yourself a firm foundation. Hands to low back, interlace your fingers. Drop knuckles, lift up your heart, create space, and then on an exhale, use it as you hinge forward. We'll be here for 3 breaths once you get to where you're going. At the end of your exhale, keeping your hands clasped best you can, lift up. Lift your arms up toward the ceiling, warrior one. Straighten the front leg, give yourself a little bit of relief, and we move to pyramid pose. So start to tilt forward, reach your right hip back, reach out with your fingertips. Eventually your hands come down. Inhale, lengthen out, lift up on the right kneecap. Exhale, descend down. You'll be here for 3 breaths. All right, things are gonna get fun. Lift up about halfway. Pivot onto the ball of the back foot again, so heel and toes are in line. Bend into your right knee. We're going to take an Ardha Chandrasana half moon pose here. So left hand to left hip. Bring your right hand out in a bias of your right pinky toe. And then on an exhale, you're going to launch forward. Left leg will drag along the mat or maybe lift up. Start to pivot the left point of your left hip up toward the ceiling. Find activity through your left toes. It's okay if neither one of your legs is straight, but see if you can get your wrist of your right arm underneath your right shoulder. And then if you'd like, extend left fingertips up toward the ceiling. See if you can find that Tadasana here. Lengthen through the crown of your head. Reach your tailbone towards your left heel and simply breathe. All right, take a little bit of a bend to both knees. Let your left hand come down to the mat, coming into that supported warrior 3 once again, maybe straightening both legs once again, lifting up to the inner left thigh. Simply breathe. And then exhale, release the foot down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, offer your heart. Exhale, fold. Root to rise, come up all the way to standing. And on an exhale, take your hands to your heart center. Shift the weight of your body onto your left leg. And cross your right ankle over your left thigh. We're going to come to a standing figure 4 pose. Flex your right foot, bring your right knee down and back. You're going to start to send your bum back. And if it isn't okay for your hands to be at your heart, you can always take hands to hips. Find some place where you can find balance. And if you need a wall, anything else, use what you got. And then keeping a flat spine best you can, you're going to start to hinge forward. This means that your booty will stick out a little bit. It's totally fine. Just breathe. And then start to lift up, uncross, stand down. On Yogafy it, shake it out if you need. And then come back. Either feet hips width distance apart, or if you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, toes to touch, heels slightly apart. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. Interlace your hands above your head and release your index finger. Bump your hips over to left, back over to the right. Scooching your right shoulder underneath you. You can use the strength of your right hand to gently pull at your left. Keep your left shoulder working away from your left ear. And just as we did earlier, your left elbow tends to work its way forward. See if you can ease it back. Okay, come up to center. Change out the lacing of your fingertips. Arc over to the left, bump your hips to the right. Show your left shoulder underneath you, maybe looking up toward the ceiling. Can you press through both feet equally here? Inhale, come back to center. And then release your hands, come all the way forward, fold. Breath in, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Option for your vinyasa, or simply step back to your downward facing dog. Very deep inhale and a very full exhale. And then once more. Step your right foot in slightly at an angle, and then step your left foot all the way to the top of your mat. When you're ready, rise all the way up to your warrior one, maybe keeping the deep bend in your left thigh. Take your hands to low back, interlace fingertips, opposite way. Drop your knuckles, lift up your heart, gaze upward, exhale, hinge forward, left hip draws back. Once you get to where you're going, 3 breaths. Continue to press to the outer edge of the right foot. And then keeping your hands clasped best you can, shoulders up over hips, and then extend your fingertips up toward the ceiling. Straighten the front leg. We're going to move into the pyramid pose. On an exhale, as you're ready, hinge forward, reach out through your fingertips, let them drop. And again, if you ever find you need a little bit more solid stance, move the back foot forward or laterally to the right. Be sure to lengthen your heart out. And then on an exhale, hinge forward in your pyramid. Also an option to pop up the back heel if that's what's going to work best for you. 3 breaths when you get to where you're going. At the end of your 3rd exhale, lift up halfway. Pivot onto the ball of the back foot, so heel and toes are in the same line. Bend into the front knee. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Left hand comes out on the bias of the left pinky toe. Right hand to right hip, and then on an exhale, launch forward, either dragging your foot or one lift. Start to point your right hip a little bit upward. And then if and when you're ready, extend your right fingertips up toward the ceiling. Take a glance to your left foot, the one that's on the ground, and make sure they've generally got a straight line between your second toe, your knee, and your ankle. A lot of times our foot likes to curve in here, taking the path of least resistance. Find lots of length, breathe. And we're going to change our orientation really carefully. Bend both knees, start to drop your right hand down to the mat. We're going to take the supported warrior 3, maybe start to straighten the legs once again, really long through the left thigh, long through your torso, active through the right toes, lifting up through the inside of the right thigh. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, release the foot next to the other, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, fingertips press against something. Exhale, forward fold. Make your way all the way up to standing. Take your hands up toward the ceiling. And then on an exhale, hands to your heart center. Shift the weight over to the right foot. Cross the left ankle over right thigh, standing figure 4. So again, flex the foot. Bring your left knee down and back. You're going to find that as your hips shift back, your torso comes forward automatically just to keep your balance here. So continue to move in that direction. If you're looking for more stretch and strengthen over here, your left knee goes down and back even more. You might find that you're coming forward, forward, forward. Simply breathe. And start to lift your way up. Stand down. Do what you need to do to get yourself out of your head. Maybe a little bit of movement. And then again, you can take your feet hips width distance apart or toes to touch, heels slightly apart for something slightly more challenging. Inhale, reach your arms up toward the ceiling, interlace your fingertips, release the index, bump your hips to the left, arc over to the right, pull your hip tips in, lots of length, protect your low back. Come up to center, switch out the interlacing of your fingers, hips to right, bump over to the left. Inhale, come up to center. And then on an exhale, forward fold. Take it all the way down to your mat. Fingertips release. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step back to downward facing dog or take a vinyasa if that is something that you need in your practice right now. Give yourself a moment to synthesize what's happened in your body so far in this practice. On your next inhale, right leg comes up and back. And on the next exhale, take your knee to your right wrist. We're going to move into a pigeon pose. So shift your shin across your body. Your right ankle is generally in the line of your left wrist. Walk your left leg out. Take a look over your left shoulder. Make sure that your heel is pointing up, but it's not splaying out to the side. And then start to walk your hands alongside your body. You might like to have a little bit of support here, shoulder blades back, sit your gaze up, or if you'd like, lift up your fingertips, maybe look up, continue to press to the tops of your left toes. And then wherever you are on an exhale, start to make your way forward into your forward folded pigeon. If this is not feeling okay in your knee, then I ask you to come onto your back and take that figure four pose once again, but simply reclined. If you're finding that your head is far, far away from the mat, again, maybe make a pillow with your fists or find something else to prop underneath your head. Slowly on an inhale, begin to lift your way up. You're going to bump your hips over to the right. Lean back enough so you can bring your left leg out around in front of you so we can take a Janu Shirsasana pose. So your right knee is bent, your foot into your left thigh. Take your hands to your thighs and create a little bit of space if you need. And then on an inhale, lift up your arms, pivot your torso so it's aligned with your left leg, and then reach for your foot. Let your hands drop wherever they do, whether it's thigh, calf, or foot. And then again, inhale, lift up halfway, reach your heart forward, reach your neck forward, and then hinge forward, taking your pose a little bit further. And then if you're looking for more zhuzh in your life here, your right knee presses down and back. And you'll also find as you do that, you hinge yourself forward just a little bit more. Inhale, lift up halfway. And then exhale, break your posture, come up to seated. Take your right hand behind you, fingertips facing away from you. There's about 10, 12 inches between your bum and the heel of your hand. Sweep your left arm around, lift up your hips, press through your left foot and your right shin. Stargazer pose, reaching your fingertips long beyond you, the longest, straightest line you can find between your left middle finger and your big left toe. And then on your next exhale, recycle your way all the way back down, spiral around, back over your hands and your knees, come to a tabletop pose. Take one cow pose, one cat, arching your spine, and then tuck your toes, press your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here, recognizing any samenesses or differences between the sides of your body. Or maybe even if your dedication has shifted. As you're ready, inhale, left leg comes up and back, exhale. We move to pigeon pose on the opposite side, knee to left wrist. Making that angle with your left shin, walk the right leg back again. Take a peek over your right shoulder. And then send your gaze back towards the front of your mat, maybe hands on the sides of your mat. Scissor your thighs together, give yourself strength here. And if you're looking for a deeper back bend, lift up your fingers, deep breath in. And then on an exhale, carry your way forward. Using any props that you'll need so that you can find a place of stillness. Loosen up on the grip of your fingers, loosen up the grip of your forehead. Start to bring your hands in a little bit closer to you as you begin to lift yourself up. If you need a little bit more time, take as much as you need. Rock over onto your left hip, lean back, give yourself lots of space to bring your right leg around for Janu Sirsasana on the opposite side. So foot into your thigh. Again, rock a little from side to side, scoot your flesh away. Inhale, lift up, get long, pivot your torso over the lengthened leg, and then reach as far as you can. Drop your hands, readjust. Inhale, lift up halfway once again. Reach your heart forward, hinge forward, neck forward, and then exhale, deepen your pose. And again, if you're looking for an additional judge here, left knee goes down and back. You'll notice that it propels you forward ever so slightly. Inhale to come up halfway. And then exhale, release your posture. Left hand behind you, fingertips away, about 10 to 14 inches. Sweep your right arm around, come onto your left shin, press down through your right foot. Stargazer pose. You could even look beyond your right middle finger. And then on an exhale, wrap yourself all the way back around. Cross over your hands and knees to tabletop pose. And then begin to flow through a few cow and cat postures here. And you can get a little creative with it, a little organic if you need to shift from side to side, maybe shifting your hips all the way back to your heels as you're coming into your cat pose. And then you're going to lean forward, come all the way onto your belly, and then just flip on your back like a pancake. So just like rotate. Bend your knees, place your feet into your mat. Bring your arms alongside your body so that your fingertips could just about touch your heels. And make sure you got your heels, knees, and hips all about in the same line. Shrug your shoulders underneath you. So you've got space between your ears and your shoulders. We're going to take a little bit of a bridge flow here. If you'd like to take a traditional bridge, by all means, please do what works for you, but I'll be guiding through a bridge flow. So press through your feet, lift up your hips, lift up your arms, up and back. Backs of hands might touch the ground behind you. Maybe lift up your heels. And then on an exhale, wave your spine all the way down. Your hands come down, your hands and your heels release down once again. Inhale, wave up your hips. Reach your arms back, a little bit of tension to your bum to protect your low back. Exhale, wave it all the way back down. 2 more just like that, your own breath. Once your hips, heels, and hands have come down, take your feet a little bit wider than your hips. Drop both knees over to the right. Send your knees back up toward the ceiling, and then drop both knees over to the left. Send both knees right back up, and then pull your knees in towards your chest. Wrap your hands around your shins. If that's not comfortable for you, then take your hands to the backs of your thighs. You might take a little bit of a rock from side to side. And if you'd like to take a happy baby, extend your heels up toward the ceiling and reach for the outsides of your feet, or even your ankles or your calves. And then release any grip that you might have. Keep your right knee in. Extend your left leg out. We're going to take a gentle supine twist. Draw your knee across your body. Press through your elbows, lift up your back, and maybe accentuate the twist as you start to bring your right shoulder down to the mat. Right arm out to the side, and if it's comfortable on your neck and cervical spine, send your gaze out toward the right. Allow your eyes to close, or if that is too vulnerable, then just allow your eye gaze to soften a bit. On an exhale, take your head and knee back to center. Extend right leg out in front of you, pull your left knee in. And then same but different. You're going to shift over to the opposite side again, pressing through your upper arms, your elbows, so you can twist your left shoulder closer to the mat. And if it suits you, send your gaze to the left. On your next exhale, take your head and knee back to center. Pull both knees in towards you once again. Wrap your hands around your shins. Maybe even start to bring your forehead up towards your knees. Maybe even you can tap your knees to your forehead. Give yourself an embrace, offering yourself gratitude for this body, bringing you all the way through this moment, with you through thick and thin. And then as you're ready, on an exhale, start to recline back. The final posture of this class will be Shavasana. If there's any other postures, adjustments to your environment that you need to do, maybe your clothes, the lighting, perhaps additional props, always nice to place, maybe a bolster, rolled up towel underneath your knees or the bottom part of your thighs. There's plenty of time, so do what you need so you can come to a place where you can find stillness. And then once you've arrived in that position for your Shavasana, however you've selected to take it, begin the systematic process of letting go, allowing the soles of your feet to become softer, your ankles relaxed, feeling the weightiness through your legs, your dropped kneecaps, heavy pelvis, and a soft belly. The rhythmic flow of your breath. Shoulders drifting down toward the mat. Softness to your upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, backs of hands, palms, tips of your fingers. If your throat feels tight, swallow to release it. Feel the back of your neck become soft and relaxed. Drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth and separate the bottom jaw from the top. Allowing yourself to feel hollow cheeks. Soften the muscles around your eyes and heavy eyelids. Soft forehead. Simply be. Slowly begin to deepen your breath, seeing that life to all corners of your body, and then exhale, let it go. Shift your thoughts back to the dedication or intention that you've set for yourself. And then begin to take some small movements informed by the dedication. Take your time to begin to mindfully and skillfully wake yourself back up. And there's absolutely no rush. Whenever you're ready, roll over onto your right side in a partial fetal position. Staying here for several moments and recognizing this transition. And with your eyes closed as best you can with a soft gaze, whenever you're ready, begin to press your way into a seated posture of your choice for a very brief reflection and meditation. On an inhale, bring your arms out and the palms press above you. And on an exhale, take your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows for clarity of thought, to your lips for clarity of speech, and then down to your heart for clarity of action. Bow your head to your heart, a symbol of honor, of gratitude, and humility. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me this evening, and thank you for helping me to deepen my own. I am eternally grateful for you. In the name of the highest good, namaste.